My name is Oscar Tamson. I'm probably one of the oldest people in Yamba, in a fishing village on the east coast of Australia, and I have more or less, I suppose, dedicated my life to try to find out how to live healthily, how to think healthily, and how to think in a spiritual way. When I was very young, I suffered from a lot of health problems, and my family were always insistent that I should eat certain foods which they were eating, such as sugared foods and white bread and lots of red meat and all that sort of thing. And I was always ill after such meals, that I came to the conclusion that I had to try and find for myself the answer to what was good eating habit.
Oscar! What is macrobiotics?
Macrobiotics is the philosophy and possibly a scientific fact of creating a balance between two things. It's particularly detailed today as far as health is concerned, as far as food is concerned. And there is quite a large population of following of macrobiotic philosophy throughout the world, and they are all really concentrating on what they should eat and how they should eat. And they should eat in a balanced way. You don't eat too much very yin. You don't eat too much yang, which is actually embodied in red meat and alcohol and things like that. And you'll find actually that people who do indulge in the latter, in red meat and alcohol, are usually aggressive people. So it has a psychological bearing on the human being. In contrast to that, too much yinness makes people fairly weak. They have a sallow complexion and they're very often getting a lot of yin diseases such as arthritis.
Hi, Oscar. Why did you become interested in macrobiotics?
I became interested in macrobiotics when I was a comparatively young man. I became a foreign correspondent and a journalist, and I've also worked all over the world, in the United States, in South America, in Europe, Australia, and also Africa, where I was for 14 years. When I heard that George Osawa was actually living in Paris, which was only 22 miles over the channel from England, not far away. So I used to go to his home where he had a giant kitchen, and he held his meetings in a kitchen.
Oh, who is George Osawa, Oscar?
The man I was referring to was a Japanese gentleman, and he, as a young child, like myself, had also been very ill in his family, and his family suffered from TB, tuberculosis. And his mother was a nurse, and I believe his father was also in the medical profession, but nobody in the Japanese medical circles at that time could actually find an answer to their TB. And George, like myself, decided that he had to try and find an answer. And his method was actually to look at history, look back at Occidental history from way back, including Buddhist history, particularly from a medical point of view. And as a result of that, he came across the original Chinese principle of yin and yang. He believed that the kitchen was the most important room in the house, and that the person who worked in the kitchen should be the most intelligent person in the house. And he opened my eyes. He opened my eyes to the universe, he opened my eyes to health, he opened my eyes to philosophy, he opened my eyes how to handle ethical matters in life. And in actual fact, he wrote more than 300 books in Japanese and also 20 books in English, which are well known. In my mind, the best of his books was The Laws of the Universe, which actually is the yin and yang of all the planets, how they all work together, and how they work with us, how the sun and the moon are working together to create our tides and do other things that they do for us.
Ah. Hi, Oscar. What is yin and yang?
Yin is one of two parts of a whole. You've probably seen the yin-yang motif, which is it's like two bodies that are interwoven. And that really describes what happens with opposites that need each other to create something else. Everything in this world is looking for its companionable opposite. And being opposites, they are different from each other, totally different. But the difference creates one whole thing. The sun is yang, very hot, and it is too yang in some respects. That's why we get melanoma if we lie in the sun too much. The moon is yin. It is operating generally more at night than it is during the day in our world, and it reflects some of the yangness at night to our dark world, which is yin at that stage. Darkness is yin, sun is yang, and the yang and the yin create a day, a full day. The best food combinations are moderate yang foods and slight yin foods. Moderate yang foods are buckwheat, quinoa, millet, oats, kidney beans, aduki beans, chickpeas, brown rice, carrot, turnip, sweet potato, ginger and walnuts. Slight yin foods are broccoli, cabbage, Brussels sprouts, kale, cauliflower and leek. Occasional foods, which you can only use occasionally, are from the moderate yin and very yang class foods. They are almonds, pears, apples, tofu, celery, mushrooms, cucumber, apricots, oranges, peaches, salmon, chicken breast, shellfish, fresh tuna, cottage cheese. But then there is this list, which is a never ever food list. And this list is composed of very yin foods or extreme yang foods. They are sugar, white flour, alcohol, coffee, tobacco, all confectionery, chocolate, all bakery items, cold drinks, tomato and white potato, animal fats, deep fried foods, red meat, eggs, hard cheeses, steroids, sedatives.
By the way, Oscar, how do you cook them?
The best way of cooking, according to macrobiotic principles, is not to cook with oil, for a start, because oil heated actually can become carcinogenous, which is cancer forming, and it also breaks down too much. Better to actually use oil on your food after it's cooked, in actual fact. And for making a soup, one must try to strive to get a balance. In other words, put yang vegetables as the main basis of the soup. So if you're cooking with a very yin vegetable, you must put a very yang vegetable with it, and maybe more than just one, to create the balance. If it's very yin, then you need more yang.
Oh, thank you, Oscar.
And of course, put the lid on, otherwise you have it all over the kitchen. And here we go. That should be now done, and all we need to do is pour it into glasses. Here's cheers.
Now, what would you recommend to people?
I would recommend that balance their lives with everything, with their emotions, with what they do work-wise. In other words, only take on work that you really enjoy, not work that you hate, which a lot of people do. Also, try and get an understanding of how the universe works. Avoid all the yin foods, particularly takeaway foods, manufactured foods, colourings, chemical numbers on tins. Don't buy tin food, although I do cheat to a certain extent. I buy beans, dried beans that are in tins, but that's because it's much quicker to cook them that way, because they are pre-cooked. But generally speaking, people today have lost the plot as far as eating for health. They're eating for sensation. Food manufacturers actually only have to mention in the ingredients list their particular bad ingredient they put in if it is 10% or more of the volume. And that is, we don't know what is going into this, that and the next thing that you buy. So you're far better off cooking your own meals. My advice to everybody, if I may give that advice, is that they must eat healthy and stay healthy and think healthy. And then they'll have a longer, good living life.
I see.
Thank you, Oscar.